My laptop is now 14 years old, and I know 15 years is a lot, but I hate buying these things. They cost so much money. So I really try to squeeze every dime out of it. But now with this one, it's over. I really need to change it. Behold, the cheapest computer Apple makes at this day of recording. So I have to admit that this is quite an exciting purchase. But I started wondering why. I was willing to pay more for a Mac Air than any other brand like HP, Acer, Windows that will most likely do the same job. Because it wasn't even a question for 2 seconds in my head if I was getting something else. It had to be a MacBook Air. This video is about why I love Apple. And maybe if you're on the fence of getting an Apple computer, maybe this video will stir you in one direction or another. I remember my first computer. It was an Acer. I can't say I hated it. I mean, it did the job that I wanted it to do. But I remember telling myself that at some point, I would get myself an Apple computer. And when I got the MacBook, it did feel better, higher quality. And contrary to the Acer, even though I needed it for work, I felt happy to buy it. It was a necessity, but in addition, it was a nice accessory. It was something that I was looking forward to get my first Mac. I put it that way. Before it was, I'm getting a new laptop. Then it became, I'm getting a MacBook. It's crazy the brand association we do without really thinking about it. I had an MP5 that got replaced by the trusty iPod. Remember when this thing came out? I loved it so much. Just the size, just the feel. It wasn't like a big clunky thing. I think this is how they got me with the designs and how perfect they feel. Remember these? This was one of my first phone. This took forever to send a text. I have to admit though, this was a very nice, sleek little design. I remember when I saw this, I was like, this is so futuristic, I need one of those. Most people know the BlackBerry. Still like this phone, but these were phones. This wasn't just a phone anymore.
People willing to stay out all night long to make sure they got their hands on an iPhone today.
The product has meaning. It is so good.
Never waited in line for anything.
8 days sleeping there, then go home.
It was an iPhone. I was very excited when I got this. Not as much as the other ones. And then, you know, I got hooked. Although I don't feel the urge of changing my devices every year as they come out. I only have 7 iPhones out of 17. It's not that bad. I got 2 iPads and my first one was the first iPad that was released, and I kept it for 7 years or something. But then of course it wasn't compatible with some apps that I was using for work. Obviously technology is always evolving and things can't last forever. I'm aware of that. But I can't help to think that the stuff that they're selling to us, they could make these things so they have a little more longevity. But of course, that wouldn't be good for profits. I believe this is called planned obsolescence, which all the companies does. So we're kind of stuck with that anyway. I'm no tech geek. I like tech. I use tech. But I probably don't even know 1% of what's going on in there. So why do I choose Apple over anything else? Well, first off, for work, because I do everything with an iPad almost. All my tattoos I sketch on an iPad with the app Procreate. Edit all my YouTube video on an iPad as well. And the more important tasks, I do them on the MacBook. And what I love about this is everything syncs together. And I know obviously you can sync your devices with other companies, but from what I've read, the ecosystem of Apple is the most seamless one to sync together. The reviews, there's so many tech nerds on YouTube that are preaching for Apple, that they're saying that it's the best for the average user. At some point you need to trust someone, right? It's so user-friendly. I would go as far as to say that this is completely idiot-proof. I am one of those tech idiots. I really need my stuff to be straightforward and simple, because if it's not, you lose me right away. Another great point, I never had a problem setting up a device. It's always been super easy. If you would switch from Windows to Apple, it probably would be really instinctive. It would be straightforward. But if you would switch from Apple to Windows, I think the learning curve would be much different. Also, the security, I've never had an issue with viruses in any of my devices. You know, it's the overall experience. It's the marketing, branding, it's the packaging. You know, I love going into an Apple store. It's part of the experience of buying one of their products. And their design are sleek. You know, they look good. Although not flawless, it was a weird place to put the connector under the mouse so you can't use it while it's recharging. And a lot of people are bitching about it. I don't quite get it. I charge it at night while I sleep. I don't see where the biggest shoe is. It could have been here on the side. Then again, I like how all symmetrical it looks. And I actually really love using that thing. I'll be making a video about my workflow Apple setup soon. And I've had this mouse for more than a month and I charged it only once. So for me, that little flaw is no deal breaker. I don't know, I just feel like it fits with my lifestyle. It fits with the aesthetics that I like. Listen, if I'm gonna use something every day, I'm gonna look at something every day, well, I want it to look good. I want it to make me feel good. I know that might sound weird for some people, but me, like the little details of life are important. This is so satisfying. That thing is so light. It's insane. This is practically half the size. That is crazy. Look at that. So I looked it up and 14 years ago, this computer costed me almost $2,000 Canadian. And this just set me back 1,600 Canadian. And if you are a student, you get a deal. So we have the power port, as always, works with a little magnet. You have 2 USB-C ports. And to my surprise, you have a jack for, where is it? For headphones. So some of the specs that you get when you purchase the cheapest computer that Apple sells. You have an Apple M4 10-core chip, which to be honest, I have no clue what that is. But from what I've heard, it's a powerful chip that we should be happy to have in a $1,600 computer. It has 16 gigabytes RAM, which again, I don't really know what that is other than its speed, which for the average user like me, this is more than enough. And it has 256 SSD storage. Now, I know that this is not much, especially if you make videos, but I do have external drives like this one. So I really don't mind not having that much in there. But if you use your computer just to go online and, you know, edit some pictures, stuff like that, this is more than enough. It has a 15.3 inches IPS 2880 by 1864 WQXGA+. I really don't know what that means, but it seems that it's a very good screen. And you know what? I wish they would have had like maybe 11 or even 10 inches, like something super portable. And obviously the quality of the screen is absolutely gorgeous. And I thought this was black at the store, but in the light, they call it the midnight blue, which I personally don't really care. I asked them if they had a bright pink, but they didn't. You know, but I have my doubts that it's cheaper now, because if you look at the older computers, you know, you had all this stuff, SD card, USB ports, I could put a CD in. Now it's nothing. You have to buy everything separately, which most likely end up being more expensive than the older laptop. But as of now, 2026, this is the cheapest Apple computer one can get. And I'm sure it's really good. I have no doubt. If it's half as good as this one, this lasted me 15 years. I won't be disappointed. And I have yet to find negative reviews about this machine. Although one negative things that I heard about this machine, the storage upgrades are really expensive. Other than that, it's supposed to be great. Although sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit hostage of Apple. Because, you know, they make you fall in love with their products, then charging you more for less, making an update or two that makes what you have obsolete, but nothing is perfect. And there's more good than bad, in my opinion. So I'm still an Apple fanboy. And at the end of the day, I think this is the price you pay for comfort. Let me know what you think of Apple and what you use for your computer needs. On that note, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll speak to you in the next one.